Hello YouTube, Osme and Ice Slicer here. Continuing on with the whole 10 thing that we started a couple weeks ago. Today is 10 number 3, which the first deck I'll be starting with is specifically my Monarchs. This is one of the few decks that I have to do, including the side deck, because the side deck's very important to this deck to really augment its different abilities depending on very specific things that it's going up against. So we'll cover that at the end here. Let's see here. And as well, might be a little distracted. I've got a little puppy here licking on my slipper. So, starting it off, I have 2 Kais in there. I know nothing special, but you'll see in the title, the deck's called the Apprentice Macro Monarch that does not run Macrocosmos or Dimensional Fissure. Well, I need the removal, so. I know a lot of you guys have said he is flat out terrible as a Monarch, but he's one of my personal favorites, and that's Dirge, or Delge if you want to go with the TCG name. He's been really helpful in this deck because of the fact that I don't run Macrocosmos. There's plenty of stuff that I can remove from the grave that makes him work relatively well. Next up, we've got 2 Mobius. I know back row's not the biggest concern anymore, but it's still there. Hence why I still have the 2 Mobius thing going on there. Next up is 1 Thestalos. I know no Ryza or any of the other ones you guys think are kind of good. Ryza's good and all, but it doesn't really flow with the overall need for the deck. Carrying on, these guys were Reborn Tengus when I had gotten them. Sadly, the deck started doing terrible once I put in the Reborn Tengus. Basically, it just seems like the deck hated them. So I had to take it out and replace it with what they are again, the Bubonic Vermins, which the deck's always enjoyed those things for some reason. Then I have 1 Level Eater in there. That's a relatively new addition to the deck. Then this is one of the more unknown cards in general, which is Witch Doctor of Chaos. It's a level 2 dark spellcaster that has 500. Flip effect, select 1 monster card from you or your opponent's graveyard and remove it from play. It helps with that extra removal that I need for this deck. Then I have the 2 Old Vindictive Magicians. And then there's 2 Apprentice Magicians, which can fetch the Old Vindictive, the Witch Doctor of Chaos, another Apprentice Magician, or the next monster in the lineup, Crystal Seer, which I have 2 of. And then for a little extra removal and a little bit more like kind of screw you kind of thing to your opponent, I main 2 DD Crows. Then into spells, we've got 2 double summons. It's one of the first things I'll side out a lot of the time, but it helps depending on what's going on in the duel or what's going on in my hand. And it can also help you get multiple Monarchs out in one turn, which is nice. 2 Enemy Controller. Foolish Burial, which this is predominantly only in there for Level Eater, and about 75% of the time I get to hit Level Eater with it before I ever draw him. It kind of sucks when I do end up drawing him, but I could possibly hit Dirge and then use something like Call of the Haunted or Monster Reborn. Heavy Storm, Lightning Vortex, Monster Reborn, Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Pot of Avarice, 2 Soul Exchanges. This one's very important to the deck, which I've even considered putting another one in, is the Soul Release. People kind of underestimate sometimes how powerful the removal can be, especially when you're removing massive massive amounts of monsters from people's decks. It gets to be a little bit hard to handle once it gets to the level that I tend to get it to. Then 1 Swords of Revealing Light. Then as for traps, I have 2 Bottomless, 1 Call of the Haunted, 2 Dimensional Prison. This one's kind of like DD Crow, but it's a little bit more harder to read into because I do have a fair amount of back row that does hang around, which is Disappear. It's basically DD Crow's effect in trap form, which that does get sided out for different cards. It's just a little bit more powerful. You'll see that here in a minute. Then 1 Mirror Force. As far as extra deck, I'm still working on this, trying to get the rest of the stuff I would like to get for it. Right now, I have 2 Leviathan Dragons, which I need to find another green sleeper, one of them. Then we have 3 Gachi Gachi Gantetsu, which that will most likely go down to 2 once I get the rest of the stuff I'm looking for. The other stuff I would like, honestly, I'm not going to spend the money on it, but I would like it. It would be the Leviair. I'm not going to spend the resources either, so don't offer to really trade unless you're really willing to give me a really cheap one. I mean, really cheap. Another one I'm wanting would be Giganto Brilliant when it comes out in Photon Shockwave, specifically to power up my Monarchs. The next one I'm also looking forward to is the Acid Golem of Destruction, just for that really big monster to pop out of nowhere when I need him. That's pretty much all the extra deck I'm intending to do, because sadly there, as far as I've seen, has not been a single rank 6 exceed. So don't have that option yet, and most of my options revolve around level 1, level 2, level 3s, well, ranks I mean. And then I could possibly do rank 5 and stuff like that, and even more unlikely 4 with the help of Level Eater, but it's very unlikely. And then as far as the side deck, I have 2 Dark Ruler Hades in there, which there's so much crap in the game right now that he can easily screw over. I have 1 extra Thestalos, or just in case, depending on who I'm going up against. Then I have 1 Ambitious Goffer in here. Sadly, I haven't really gotten his effect off, but I very rarely sight him in. I've got 2 Divine Knight Izarks. Most people don't remember this card too much, but it's actually not too bad. It's a light attribute, level 6, warrior, 2300 attack, 1800 defense. So yeah, it's a little on the lower side for a 1 tribute, but it's not bad. You've got any monster this card destroys by battle is removed from play. So it's very helpful against those monster searchers or stuff like Sandman. Whereas there's also Dark Ruler Hades for him, which is just stronger, but he has his other uses, trust me. Then I have 2 Fissure, which I'm probably going to replace those with Smashing Grounds. I just need to find someone at my locals that has an extra Smashing Ground I can get off of them. Then I have 2 Noblemen of Crossout. Right now, this one, a lot of people are like, why are you running this one? Well, it's Rush Recklessly. It's basically to kind of throw people off in the whole fact of them being able to run over my Monarchs so easily with some of the synchros nowadays. This one is the predominant card to replace Disappear in the main deck, depending on what I'm facing. If I'm facing a deck that specifically focuses on about 1 attribute, I put in Crevice into the different dimension, because then I get to hit 2 cards instead of just 1. But Disappear is more versatile and being able to hit basically anything at any given time, whereas Crevice isn't always able to. And then 2 Karma Cut, which is a very powerful remove from play card, as some of you may know. So either way, that's my Monarch deck, or specifically Apprentice Macro Monarch that does not run Macrocosmos or Dimensional Fissure. To give you guys a little bit of an idea how well it runs, uh, I tend to remove, on average, which let me just say I focus on removing the monsters, seeing as it's much easier to get a monster from the graveyard than the remove from getting spells and traps. So I'll remove monsters predominantly. I tend to sometimes get every single monster removed that they have in their graveyard, or there's the majority of the time it's about 90% of them, and the ones that are still in the graveyard or are relatively not dangerous in any way, I go for the priority targets that are basically the ones that'll cause trouble. If you were to talk, for example, the plant engine, I would remove stuff like dandelion, the globe bulb before they even get to use it, and stuff like that. It's just you got to be smart about it and remove the stuff that's going to screw you over. So either way, rate, comment, subscribe, whatever. Just try to keep it in general positive. Even if it's criticism, just try to keep it generally positive. You don't have to be an asshole about this stuff. So, other than that, Osmate89 Slicer signing out.